Yeah, so thank you for coming along to today's webinar. Obviously, we're talking about LinkedIn fear factors and how to overcome them, presented by the amazing Danny Johnson. So I'm going to give you a bit of information before I pass it over to Danny. So just general housekeeping to start with. You'll be muted throughout the webinar, guys, just in case there's any background noise or anything like that. You can type questions via the chat function in the footer, which will be answered at the end. So if you have any questions as you're going along, just feel free to just throw them into the chat and we'll do our best to answer everything. When we're presenting our screen, to present, you can make it bigger or smaller by moving the slider left and right on your desktop devices. I don't know how to do it on mobile or tablet. And the webinar, like I said, is going to be recorded and we're going to be putting it on our blog as well. So like I say, it's going to be mainly the slides anyway that it's showing. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Okay, so did you know that LinkedIn has seen a 26% increase in usage and a whopping 15 million increase in members since January? So obviously lockdown has played a huge part in that. We all went into lockdown and we just threw ourselves into social media. So really this just supports more than ever before why, just being on LinkedIn and using it correctly is so important for building your own personal brand and your business brand. Today, you're going to learn how to make your profile stand out, best times to post on LinkedIn, how to decide what content to share, how to qualify a connection request, what hashtags are and how to use them, and a few tools you can use to help increase your LinkedIn presence. But before we go any further, I'll give you a little bit more information about Danny. So Danny has 16 years experience in recruiting, selling and marketing through LinkedIn. So her background, she used to work in the recruitment sector. So LinkedIn is obviously a huge part of that. And she was involved in it. She's had training from the LinkedIn sales team directly, and she's responsible for all the social media here at Expand. A little bit about Expand. Our studio is based in Saltaire in West Yorkshire. We're a full-service digital agency and we've been running for 13 years. And some of the more recognisable names that we work with, that we've done work for in the past, are Lint Chocolate, the Tetley Brewery, Argo Restaurants, and Her Majesty's Prison Service. But the majority of the client base that we work with are very much the S&E sector. But this is just to give an outline of some of the caliber of people that we have worked with. So over to you, Danny.
Thank you very much, Jag. I'd just like to say as well before I do start is I would love to work for the Princess Service. That would be amazing. Her Majesty's Princess Service. And we do the marketing for them. All right. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming along. So there's quite a lot, obviously, to go through in terms of LinkedIn. So I will try not to waffle on too much. But if you do have questions, like Jag says, if you pop them in there, then we'll try and answer them at the end. So if there's something that I don't quite cover, but you'd like to know, then pop it in there and we'll try and answer it later. So how do you make your profile stand out? So obviously you could, if you really wanted to, if you're into it, wear fancy hats and put lots of bright makeup on, and that will definitely help your picture stand out. However, it's not going to do much for your actual profile. So if we have a look at the next slide. So recently I did a webinar on the 7 steps to becoming a LinkedIn All-Star. These still count when it comes to actually making your profile stand out. So you need to make sure that all of these things are on your page, on your profile. So if you didn't see that one, you can access it on our blog page of our website and you can watch that back. But I've just put a brief overview of what we covered in that webinar there for you. So it talks about the connections, it talks about managing endorsements, how to ask for recommendations, privacy settings, your dashboard, what it is and how to use it. We will mention the dashboard a bit later on, so if you're not sure what that is, then please pop that in the chat and we'll try and cover it later. Otherwise, if you do have a spare hour, pop on and watch this other webinar back and it explains it all in there.
Sorry, just a second. I've just got a message from Andrew saying he's not seeing the slides. Can everybody see the slides? Can I get a thumbs up from you? Yeah, okay. I'm not sure why you're not seeing the slides, Andrew, but yeah, sorry, carry on, Danny.
It's all right. Just interrupt my flow. Let you off. The importance of activity and being active, and then we also covered how to optimize your company page as a little extra there as well. Okay, next one, please. So I always set myself a little bit of a challenge when it comes to writing content for webinars, trying to be a little bit quirky, and it's just a personal thing, but I think it's going to become a bit of a challenge between Jack and I now. So my challenge was to get Ice Cube into this one. Yeah, hopefully you all know who he is. Hence the whole reason for us talking about caps and being a bit laid back and chilled during this webinar. But, you know, he's got a point. One of the basic principles of LinkedIn is checking yourself before you wreck yourself. And I cannot say it in that accent. Feel free to have a go at it yourselves, but yeah, it's not working for me. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make is that we regularly forget why we're actually on the platform in the first place. And that's actually key when it comes to standing out. You have to have a think about why you're there and what your reason for being on the platform is. LinkedIn's a bit more than the other social platforms in the sense of just being there for a bit of fun. LinkedIn is obviously a networking social platform, so there's a lot more you can do with LinkedIn than you can with Facebook or Instagram, for example. So have a think now about your own profile, and we're talking personal profiles rather than business profiles here. Some of the context does cross to your company page as well, like a lot of the principles do remain the same, but we're talking personally right now. So is your profile speaking to your target audience? Is the language that you're using relevant to that target audience? And is the content that you're sharing actually worthwhile to your target audience? If you're not talking to the targeted persona, then what are you actually doing? What is the point of your profile? So a little bit of audience participation. Who here is confident that their profile is aimed at their target audience? Give us a hell yeah in the comments, or thumbs up. Yeah, that'll do. So happy? Yeah. So what we're going to do for those of you that are not, we have a little tool on the next slide for you. So the first tip is to create a persona. So if you're not sure who you're actually trying to reach, then how do you know how to word your message or how to write your summary, for example? You need to be always thinking that whatever you post and how you post it is talking to this person. So it's a good place to start by actually making that person, making your persona, give them a name, give them a personality, and get inside their head. So when you are writing your profile content or posts, then you know what might actually engage with them, and you'll understand the type of content that they will engage with. Now, your first tool, which I will run through at the end, but Hootsuite actually provide an audience persona template. Now, it is for business to consumer, so you may have to tweak it slightly for business to business. But it's a good place to start to actually understand what buying signals, what your personas reasons to not buy might be. So if you can really dig into that and really understand what that audience would be turned on by, then that will help you know what content, and it'll help you stand out. We'll go on to tip 2. Okay, so stat for you. LinkedIn have done quite a bit of updating during lockdown. They've obviously been looking at statistics and things like that. But interestingly, they did note that listing industry information such as internet, financial services, education management, so this is a bit in your profile settings, they lead up to 9 times more profile views and can help you be discovered to up to 38 times more in recruiter searches, according to LinkedIn data. Plus, adding something as simple as your location can get you 19 times more profile views. So these are just little things that will help you go a bit further. So next one. So the reason I shared that stat was basically because it leads into the next slide. We always forget that actually social media is a changing platform. Every day something happens. You need to make time to keep your profile fresh. So once you've done it, doesn't mean that it's finished, and you can't just leave it like that. You need to freshen it up so that LinkedIn's algorithms they know that they need to pick up on any changes and update your profile, and this will kind of give him a bit of an alert to kind of be going, I'm still here, it's still me, and it'll refresh the algorithm as well, so it'll show you your content a little bit more. So something as simple as changing your photo every month can potentially help that, or adapting your summary to reflect a recent accomplishment. We're all doing things every month that we're proud of, so why not shout about that? You could possibly even add new qualifications. LinkedIn have these new skills tests that you can take as well. They're worthwhile if you've got a spare half an hour or an hour just to have a work through one of them, and that just gives you a little bit of extra kudos as well on your profile. And just make sure that you are allocating some time to keeping it present. So what I do is I tend to schedule a bit of time in monthly so that I can just have a quick look through, just make sure what I'm saying on my profile is relevant. And your summary is really important. You need to really focus on what this says. This is your story. This is your chance to tell people about you and what you've achieved, what your journey is, and how you can help them. You need to be authentic. I say this all the time, and I'm sick of hearing myself say it. I want to punch myself in the face sometimes, but it's so true. It's the most powerful piece of advice that I could give anyone with social media is just be yourself, be authentic, be real. It's interesting because I just ran a quick survey about webinar presentations and what people think about the presenter and whether they bother to do the hair and makeup. Now, any of you that know me, I'm a gym bunny. I am in the gym every morning, and doing my hair and makeup is the last thing on my mind. So it's one of those things where doing one of these, I'm like, do I keep it authentic? I'm always spouting on about being authentic, but actually, do people like it? And unfortunately, the voting's not gone my way. People want people to actually make an effort. So anyway, you need to explain why you're different. You need to showcase how you can add value to your audience, how you can contribute, and how you can make an impact to them. And that leads us into the last tip of this section. So, funnily enough, don't get caught up in perfection. So what people tend to do is their LinkedIn profile becomes a bit of a CV. So they tend to list all the work experience, spend a load of time detailing all of that. And it's not necessary. What my advice is to only put the employment history on there that matters in the industry you're in now. So, for example, I'm now in marketing, so I wouldn't put my time at TradeX or M&S on there as a shop assistant. It's just not relevant to my industry anymore, and it's only going to confuse LinkedIn when it's looking at keywords and algorithm response for you. So just keep it relevant to what your audience would be looking for. Don't be afraid to use rich media. So by this, I mean video, images. The best thing to do in terms of video, and we keep saying this, don't we, Jag, all the time, is actually to get on and just do a video, talk to your audience. LinkedIn loves videos, and and it's like pot kettle black, because I hate talking on camera, but actually the people that do it, they are getting amazing reach and engagement. And I'm gonna say it, I am gonna say her name, Jag, but Gemma Bevan is blooming awesome at that. If none of you have seen her, like, she's this social media queen for LinkedIn, and she literally sings TikTok videos and stuff like this, but it works. And it's so frustrating because it really annoys me, but it does work, and I've been hooked, and now I'm watching her stuff all the time. So, you know, showcase yourself, showcase your accomplishments with a little bit of flair as well. Don't be afraid to shout out about a business achievement, a personal achievement, something, you know, that you are happy about. People like to see happiness, and especially now in the world as it is, there's not enough of it going around. So I know personally, if I saw somebody having a little whoop whoop, little dance, you know, there's a lady that does a Friday dance and literally just videos it, and she calls herself the dancing queen, and it's like, actually, you know, maybe that's not relevant, but it is. It's like, you know, it makes people smile, and it's made me remember her. So don't be afraid to think outside the box a little bit. Think about your reputation. Now, this is really difficult because obviously your reputation, people know you out of a social media post, so they know your personality, they know more about you. Online, it is literally what they see on that profile. So unless they know you personally as well, which is unlikely when you've got 500 plus connections, you know, you need to think about how you come across in terms of your rep. So you can use your recommendations, which we covered on the previous webinar. So if you watch that back, that gives you details on how to approach people for them. But don't be afraid to, if you do get a recommendation from someone, don't be afraid to actually share it as a post as well, like to say thank you and tag the person for this recommendation, because not only are you shouting about an achievement, you are then also tapping into that person's connections as well, which will showcase the reach across their second, third, fourth connections, so you'll be able to see more. Also, they add credibility, they add evidence, and they add validity to your profile. So LinkedIn said it there themselves, to really make your LinkedIn profile sing, speak to the impact you've had, the change you've created, the initiatives you've led, and the results you've delivered. Makes sense, really. Next one. So I get asked this all the time. Like, it's one of the first questions we get asked in any strategy is, when do I post? When should I be posting? And the complete answer is that throughout lockdown, this has changed. Not as drastically as we thought it would, but it has had an effect, because obviously the majority of people have been working remotely, which has meant that they've had more time and access to social media at different times. So it has skewed the figures a little bit, but I'm going to give you some tips on other kind of ways to think about it. So in the box there on the left, they are the best times to post, technically, if you stick to the layman terms. So these have changed, like I say, from what they were before lockdown. We used to see quite a bit of morning activity before lockdown, because that would generally be when people were logging on before they started work. As you can see there, it's a bit different now. Wednesday, Thursday, Fridays seem to be the key days. Wednesday 3 o'clock, interestingly, Thursday 9 till 10, and Friday 11 till 12. So bit of a strange change, really, but just something to bear in mind. The most important thing that I can actually tell you here is to be consistent. So whatever you do post, make sure that you're doing that regularly. So if you can only do once a week, make sure that you are posting on the same day and the same time every week, so that a consistency shows, so LinkedIn knows to expect a post from you. But not only LinkedIn, your audience do as well. We run a regular feature on our Instagram page on a Wednesday morning at 9 o'clock. Every week, I make sure that that goes on. If I do not post anything else that week, it's fine, as long as I get that post on, because that is my one thing that Instagram is expecting goes on. And it's the same with the other platforms as well. So if they know to expect it, then it's not only good for the algorithm, it's good for your audience. They'll start looking out for it. Another piece of advice is to experiment with it. So these best times to post, they are average. So obviously, dependent on your industry, it's going to be different. If you work with teachers, for example, they're not necessarily going to be online on Thursday and Friday during the day in the morning, because they'll be in classrooms teaching. So you have to kind of go back to the persona side of things and understand when your audience will be online. So have a bit of an experiment with it. Try put some on a morning, try put some on an evening. Your audience might not actually be online until 10 o'clock at night if they're so busy. The best way to do that is to use your analytics as well. So looking at things like your dashboard, seeing when what your posts are, looking at when you've posted. If you go into your dashboard, you can see your post summaries and you can see the views that you're getting on those posts. So if you look back and you can see that actually all the ones that you've posted at 7 o'clock in the morning have had higher views than any that you've posted later in the day, regardless of whether you've followed the best times to post advice, it's whatever's working for your audience. So as much as people hate looking at analytics, that's what they're there for. And they help you learn what's working and what's not. If any of you have a company page, you can go into detail in there about your viewers and your followers. And if anyone has a Facebook page, that goes into even more analytics, where it tells you what time your followers are actually online on the platform and engaging. So it's really useful to look at that, because if they're on Facebook, then they're likely to be on LinkedIn at the same time. Okay, next. Okay, so I get this one a lot as well. Should I really share that? So just being completely honest is that we have this dilemma as well. Like, just because we work in social doesn't mean that we know exactly how to share and when to share and all that, because it changes so often. But the biggest thing is that if you need to be comfortable about what you're sharing. So move forward, Jack, please. So I say it there, if you've considered sharing it, then you probably should. It really is as simple as that. So if you've seen a bit of content and you think, well, I'd like to share this, then you're probably right, share it. The only kind of thing that I would give you advice on there is that if it is something that's going to be a bit controversial, then really explain your reason for sharing it. Don't just kind of share it and expect people to understand why you've shared it, because the fact is that they'll probably just read it from how they're feeling and completely misunderstand the reasons why you've shared it. So just explain it. But LinkedIn is about sharing thought-provoke. That is the biggest thing. So anything that you share, you are sharing to create a communication. It is social. So, the clue's in the name. Anything you share should be to get a conversation going. And that is the biggest thing that people forget. They'll share stuff because they think that they should just share it. And we're always like talking through with clients with this, is where they've just shared something, but they've not actually put a comment about it. So if you've seen it yourself with anyone that you follow, when they share a story or a media or someone else's post, and you're like, oh, great. But you don't engage with it because they haven't explained why they've shared it. So what is the reason? So for example, if you see an industry story that you think, oh, I'm going to share that, well, that's fine, but what's your opinion on it? You know, how do you get people to actually engage with the content and the reason why you're sharing it? So ask questions, ask them what they think about it, take a snippet from it. But the key is to actually share content that you're interested in and that people will care about, and something that will add value to their daily lives. They're the biggest things that you need to remember. Next. Okay, so I've just given you some ideas of what to consider sharing. So like I've said there, industry news, but always explain your reasons for sharing. Insights that you've gained from your role. So if any of you follow Jag or myself, we do this quite a bit. Tends to be something, it doesn't always have to be wins. It can be lessons that you've learned. It can be, little things. Jag and I were chatting yesterday about a post I'd seen on Facebook about a woman's mental load, and how the woman is expected to remember to pay bills and look at car insurance and pay the childminder fees and all this other stuff. And we were like, actually, that'd be a good post for LinkedIn, because it's stuff that's thought-provoking. It's going to get engagement, so that they are the kind of things that if you're having conversations at work and you're like, that's actually a bit insightful, that could get some conversation going, then it's probably worthwhile going on LinkedIn and sharing it, because you will get some engagement. Any personal or company achievements, we've gone through that. Educational videos and how-tos. So like I said before, rich media, LinkedIn any social media platform loves video. It is a big thing at the moment. Keep them short though. Once you go over a certain amount of time, it doesn't like that. So if you are comfortable in front of the camera, then record your own, and they don't have to be really long. They could literally be what you would write in a post, just talking to the camera instead, and then just asking people their thoughts on it. LinkedIn articles. Now, if you can, it would be ideal to do one yourself every month, and then you can post that and you can share that. That's then content for you to share as and when. It also will help LinkedIn because they see that as a benefit that you're contributing to their knowledge sector, their knowledge area as such, and that will extend your reach. They'll showcase that to people that you're not connected with. For example, if they are following that kind of that hashtag that you may have used within that article, or there's keywords in there. It'll also come up with Google as well. If somebody searches for a particular topic that your article covers, it will come up on Google. It doesn't just stay on LinkedIn. So it's helping you reach that way too. They have created a new section on company pages called content suggestions. So if anyone does have a company page, it's worthwhile going in here. You can filter it to your industry, and it'll showcase any stories that LinkedIn has picked as trending. So these are good then, because LinkedIn's identified them as being a hot story. So if you're then sharing it, it picks up, the algorithm goes, oh, they're sharing a story that we've recommended. So it'll help you go further up the feed as such. So it's worth having a look in there. And there's also on your homepage in the top right side, there's also today's news and views. So these are again stories that LinkedIn has picked up. Now, be wary that these are not industry related, they're just general. So they may not be relevant every day to your industry and your audience. But it's worth just keeping an eye on them, because that's where it'll tell you, the stories that are getting the engagement. So it should help you. And don't be afraid to showcase some of your personality. People do struggle with this one. I think, I myself, I think I've changed in the last month. When I first started sharing stuff, I was very wary of Expand and our voice and how I was writing things for our company. And it's like, actually, my personal profile is not about writing things for Expand. It's about writing things for me and what my opinion is and what I think about stuff. Because at the end of the day, the biggest thing that anyone will ever tell you in sales is that people buy from people. And you know this if you've worked for a company, moved to another company, and you've taken customers with you, because they're not bothered about the actual brand. They're bothered about you and your personality. So don't forget to showcase that when you are sharing posts. And obviously you need to keep some restraint. I've seen it where people have got a bit OTT and it's like, whoa. And we did have a client was telling us a story the other day about how somebody attended for business and he'd actually gone on everybody's LinkedIn to have a look at them. And there was a couple of posts that one of them had posted and it put him off him, and he lost the tender just because of some posts. So you do have to be wary, obviously, of how passionate you're getting about things sometimes. But you know, there is a fine line. A life lesson or an insight into you as a person can go a long way. I posted something the other day about buying a camper van and how lockdown had taught me that, you know, life was too short and just to do something sometimes. And that got a lot of engagement because it's this strange, like, feeling that people are like, well, Facebook, you know, LinkedIn's becoming a bit of a Facebook. But I think as long as there's some thought-provoking there, there's some reason for why you're sharing that personal post, you know, there's actually something that's going to add value to the people reading it, then there's no reason why not to share that personal thing. Jag, you did one about your journey and about university and about, you know, that person, and that got a lot of engagement as well. You know, so I think don't be afraid to actually do that, but like I said, just make sure it's valuable. Yeah. Oh, I have to apologize, I've got a bit of a cold and I feel like I'm like holding my breath when I'm talking. It's great. Do I click accept to everyone? So how many of you do this? How many people actually just click yes to every single connection request? Be honest, put your hands up. No, quite a few people say no there actually. I'm quite impressed. So you're right not to. The answer is no. We move forward, Jack. So how do you know who to connect with and who not to connect with? It's actually really quite simple once you get your head around it, and it does take some time to get your head around it, but once you do, you're like, oh god, that makes sense. So you need to build your personal strategy. So the biggest thing again, this is another word I want to punch myself in the face for, and I'm going to have a lot of bruises and broken noses by the end of this webinar, but you know, value, it's there again. Does you know, connecting with that person, are they going to add value to your newsfeed? Do you want to see the content that someone's sharing that's not in your industry or that isn't really related to anything that you want to know? You know, I'm having this a lot at the moment because I've changed industry. So my feed is full of education stuff because that's what I've done for the last God knows how many years. I've worked in education recruitment. So a lot of my connections are education. They're teachers or they're head teachers. And my feed is just full of stuff that's not relevant to me anymore. So I'm having to do like a complete refresh and try and start again to fill it with marketing information, because that's what I want to know about now. So that is a big thing to think about when you click yes. Their content will fill your feed. Okay, so when you go in, if you've connected with a lot of irrelevant people, you're not going to see the content that you want to see and you want to engage with, because LinkedIn's algorithm will go, oh, you just connected with this person. I'll throw all of their stuff up. And then what it will also do is show you more people like the people you've connected with, because it thinks they're the kind of person you want to connect with. So all these LinkedIn recommendations, you should connect with this person, will then be based on the ones that you said yes to. So just think about that. And also, you know, the biggest thing that we're saying here is that we want engagement. We want our customers and our audiences to engage with our posts. So if they're not in the industry that you're trying to push, then they're not going to engage with your posts. And I am finding that massively now, because my connections are 50% education. I don't get as much engagement, because when I'm talking about LinkedIn or you know, things that people should be doing on Instagram, or giving, you know, little how-tos, teachers don't care about the stuff I'm posting, so they're not engaging with my content. So it really does matter about your connections. Okay, so we move to the next one. I'll give you some ideas of some strategies, different methods. So there's 4 different methods that you can use. The first one we call the "Do I know you" method. So the pro here is that you create a highly targeted group of connections. So this is the one where you will only connect with people that you actually know or have met. So you tend to have a lot less connections, and it is highly targeted because you know you've met them and you know they've already got an interest in your business or your industry. But it's quite restrictive and there's a lack of purpose. If you're trying to use LinkedIn to sell, to develop, to grow and find new connections for business purposes, this is not the method to use. It just will restrict you down, and you'll have already done all your sales kind of stuff with these people already offline. So it's a little bit pointless. It does work for some people. If you're just using LinkedIn to find content, for example, then it's fine. The open network method, you'll get an extensive list. So this is where you literally just accept everybody. So you will have 1,000+ connections, you'll have loads of them, but you'll have no focus, and you also open yourself up to negative engagement. So Jack, I'm going to pick on you here.
Thanks.
So Jack did a post the other day and about the webinar, and we had a couple of comments where it was do you mind me saying, Jack?
No, go for it.
So, one of them picked Jag up on his grammar, and it was just like, who is this guy? And Jag openly admitted that he'd obviously just clicked yes to his connection request because he was completely irrelevant and nothing to do with any of our industries. So, you know, there is a risk to just say yes to everyone, you know, because that can happen. Like, there are people, you don't get it often on LinkedIn. There are not as many trolls on LinkedIn as there are on other social platforms, but you will get the occasional one, so just be mindful of that.
It's also good to be challenged as long as it's professional. I have been questioning my grammar skills ever since.
Oh, bless you. You took it very harsh, though. Like, am I right?
I'm still wondering about it. But,
Anyway, the status matters method. So you maintain a quality network, but you could miss some people. So this is where you basically only accept people who have a high status. So they're of the same level in terms of company-wise. They're a CEO or whatever. So you don't kind of go below that in terms of their status. But the best one, and the one that I recommend, is the look for value method. So by this, what I mean is every person that I get that requests, and I think it was the previous slide, there was actually a screenshot of my current waiting list for connections, because I won't click yes to everyone. I'll spend time going and looking at their profile and reading about who they are before I click yes or no. Because I'm so conscious about building my newsfeed, I don't want to accept anybody who's will screw up that strategy, basically, because that is my strategy. So by doing that, yes, they are sat there pending for a while, waiting for me to click yes or no. But I will be building a quality network of relevant connections and ones that will help me progress my future, but also help me spread the brand of Expand as well, through obviously what I'm posting. There is a downside to this, and it's quite a harsh one because we all started somewhere, but you will potentially miss the newbies and forget to help the ones who are just starting out. So it's kind of being a bit mindful of that as well, remembering that some people may just be starting out on LinkedIn and may just need some help. So they might not have the perfect profile because they're not really sure what they're doing with it. But I think once you start getting used to how to quantify somebody's profile and understanding whether they're going to be right for you, then you'll be able to judge that anyway. So, but I would definitely recommend that you do that. You look for the value in the connection. Next, Jack, please. Okay. Now, what we tend to forget is that we can also go out there and look for connections. So a lot of us tend to just sit and wait for connections to come to us. But actually, if you want to work on your strategy of building your network, you also need to focus on finding the right candidate yourself, the right connection. So one way that you can do that is to spend some time actually looking at the businesses that you want to work with, so your target businesses, and looking at their staff page as your starting point. Now, some companies have their staff's LinkedIn profiles connected there, so you can click onto that and it'll take you straight into the profile, and then you can connect with them that way. Other companies don't, so you'll have to do a LinkedIn search where you just go back onto LinkedIn, pop their name in and try and find them that way. You could potentially even just do it on LinkedIn by searching the company, and if they have a company page, they usually have employees at this company as a link on the company page, and then you can work through there as well and try and connect with them that way. But do remember, it's another one where I'm useless at this. I'm really bad. I'm like telling you to do this and I'm bad at it myself, but you really should be tailoring a connection request. So explaining to that person why you'd like to connect with them. LinkedIn on the free edition will only let you request connections so many times to somebody you don't know. So if you just keep clicking to invite, but you don't put like an explanation in there, then LinkedIn will eventually go, I'm sorry, you don't know any of these people. Stop, you're banned. So just be wary of that as well. But you can see an example there on the slide. I've seen ones where people have just put, hi, whoever, I'm looking to build my connections, and looking at your profile, we have similar interests. Please, would you accept? You know, just something as simple as that. And personally, it is nicer when you do get a reason why. I don't always care if somebody just requests if they're in the same kind of industry, but if they're not in my industry and they don't put anything, then I don't usually accept them. So there is, if you think about it personally as well. Next. My favourite thing in the world. People don't like hashtags, but I genuinely think that's because they don't understand them. So do many people use hashtags? Yeah? No? Okay. There's a bit of a mix in there. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to tell you why you should use hashtags, and if you are, that's amazing. but we need to make sure you're using the right ones as well. So LinkedIn posts using one hashtag had on average 29.59% higher views impressions. So that's a pretty big increase just on one hashtag. So what hashtags do, they allow LinkedIn to listen to topics that matter most to their users, and in turn they create a better user experience for members. They're searchable, so you can actually search on a hashtag. They act as keywords. They're one of the easiest ways to build your brand. So for example, we sometimes use the hashtag Solar7. It is a model that we use within our strategy, and within time we will hopefully build an audience just following that hashtag, which then they will see our posts that are related to Solar7. So if you have something in your brand that is a slogan or something like that, it is worth building that into your marketing and getting your following built on that hashtag. So it could be anything at all. You just need to make sure that you are marketing it out. It's always worthwhile as well doing a little search on it first to check no one else is actually using it, because if there's somebody else using it and they're posting negative posts, then it could affect your following. So just check first. They increase your post reach, and they get you in front of people who are not connected to you. So don't know if you've seen the trending hashtags that LinkedIn will sometimes drop you a message saying this hashtag is trending on this post. That you're not connected with that person, but LinkedIn's saying that you're following that hashtag, so it makes it available to you. That's what you want to do to other people, and that's how you build a relevant audience. They are crucial if you want your content to be seen by people who aren't connected to you. Okay. So how can you use them effectively? You can use a plugin. This is another tool called Right Tag, for example. This gives you suggestions which are based on real-time engagement. So Right Tag, it tells you relevant hashtags that are trending or that are getting high engagement. When you use the plugin, it'll pick up words from your content and suggest that you hashtag them. LinkedIn does this as well in a little way. It does give you some suggestions sometimes, but just be mindful of them because they're not always amazing. And just, you know, this tool, I would recommend it. Do your research on trending hashtags in your industry. That is literally a simple Google. Just Google hashtags trending in whatever your industry is, and you'll see so many results come up. The best thing to do though is date filter it by the little options. You can, if you date filter the results to like a week, then it'll give you the top ones in that week, and then use them and keep using them. LinkedIn's community hashtag functionality. On your company page, there is a part on there that tells you what the community are hashtagging. So what hashtags your audience are using. So have a look at that. Follow. So if you're not already following hashtags yourself, make sure you do that today. That is your action from this webinar, is to go away and follow some industry hashtags. So have a look at the ones. So like, for example, I follow marketing, digital marketing, social media updates, things like that. And then that will give you content suggestions as well. And another action is to add your top 3 industry hashtags to your profile summary. So just drop these at the bottom, the hashtags that you want to be found up for. Okay. Fun fact as well, I didn't realise, but technical term for hashtag is an octafrop. There you go. Excellent. If you didn't learn anything else today, you've learnt that.
I've learned that.
You can see why they changed it to hashtag, can't you? Yeah. Octafrop. So just a quick recap on a couple of the tools that I've already mentioned and a few more. I'll keep this brief because we're running out of time. If you go forward, Jag. So Canva, if you follow Jag, you'll have already seen his big post about Canva. I absolutely love Canva. It's amazing. I'm not a designer, but Canva makes me feel like one. It is super. If you go onto it, you can set up your an account and it's free, and you can create little visuals. There's some little education lessons in there that teach you how to use it, but it's so easy and simple. This presentation was created on it. It's got so much. So yeah, I would suggest you check that out. Social Selling Index, if you haven't heard of that, that's a tool that you can use for LinkedIn that tells you various detail of how you're engaging with your audience, how good you are at finding people and connecting with people, and lots of other stuff as well. Hootsuite, you can actually use this as a scheduler for your personal LinkedIn. So if you're a bit concerned about whether you have time to post all the time, you can actually make sure that you do by setting yourself a little free account up on Hootsuite and just connecting your personal LinkedIn, and you can do that. I'm a bit naughty, I do it. I don't always get a chance to post, so I have been using Hootsuite quite a bit as a bit of a test, because it has been known that some of the platforms don't like it when you use a scheduler because they know that it's come from a different URL. But I haven't found that whilst I've been testing scheduling them through Hootsuite this last week. I'm still getting the same engagement, so I will continue to do a bit of both, but it's there just so to help you keep that consistency. So even if you use it to schedule once a week, at least you know that you've got a post going on a week. Audience persona template, I mentioned that earlier, so that's a little tool for you to work through with that. These are all or should be hyperlinked, so when we share the presentation, you'll be able to click on the logo and it should take you to the websites. Right Tag, as I've mentioned, is a plugin that you can use to help pick out your hashtags. Like anything, Right Tag, because it's free, there are limitations to what you can do unless you pay more, so there's a lot to do with playing around with that. SlideShare, they've just been bought out by Scribed, but from reading research, nothing is going to change. So using SlideShare to find content is really useful as well. And because technically it's still part of LinkedIn, they're saying that it's not taking you away from LinkedIn as such, so it won't affect engagement, like when you include links to a different article. Okay, I think that takes us to almost to the end.
Mm-hmm.
So there's all the bits there that you now should know. How to stand out above the rest, best times to post, what content to share, how to decide whether to click accept, the importance of using hashtags, and some tools to help you progress. So,
Super.
Here you go, Jag. I breathe now.
Excellent, great work, Danny. So guys, we've had some great questions come through, but before we go any further, before we answer the questions, I would really love if you guys could just take literally 30 seconds to fill in the survey for us, just to let us know how it's gone. So in the chat, I've literally just put a link in for SurveyMonkey. It's 3 questions. You just need to give a yes or a no, or just select your option from there. It's 30 seconds. I'll just leave you to it. And if as many of you as possible could fill it in, it gives us good feedback for future events. So yeah, if you could do that now for us and just give us a thumbs up or a yes or whatever in comments to say you've done it, that'd be great.
I have a fisherman's friend while we wait. Treat myself.
Have to.
Blimey heck, Emily Brown, that were quick.
That's 5 so far, I think. 6. Thank you, guys.
Oh, I've just realised it's bank holiday weekend.
It is the bank holiday weekend.
Yeah, 4-day weekend.
Yeah.
For me.
For you, not for the rest of us.
Sorry.
Just rub it in.
I probably should have said that after the survey was done. Whoops.
Okay. So we've had a good number there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Super. Thank you for that, guys. Excellent. Right, okay, so we've had a few questions come through. So, yeah, I'll kind of just sift through them. So, yeah, okay, well, firstly, before I answer the questions, obviously, this is Danny and I. These are our details, our email addresses. More than happy to have a chat with you about anything to do with this, but we'll answer whatever we can. These are our social media profiles and our LinkedIn QR codes. So if you want to connect with us, please do. Right, okay, so one of the questions, I think Emily asked the question about what the difference is between mobile and you wrote, oh, sorry, Trevor. I use LinkedIn on my phone. Does it offer different functions on the laptop, desktop? Trevor Brown, you asked the question. Now, one of the things that you alluded to, Danny, was asking the question when you're connecting, when you're requested to connect with someone on LinkedIn, to put a little message with it. Now, on mobile, that isn't functionality that has historically been there, and I'm pretty sure it's still not there. So basically, sometimes when I can, I'll put a little message when I request someone to connect with someone. But more often than not, I'm using my phone for LinkedIn. So you can't always put that message request in there. So that is one of the key differences between the two. I think also from a user function, I mean, the functionality is always going to be better on a desktop. You know, you've got the three columns, you've got your information on the left and your information on the right.
Yeah.
You can always see a lot more as well.
Yeah, there's all the detail is all there. It's just finding it because it's in different places. So on your phone, a lot of the stuff that you find is in the Discover More section at the bottom when you open it up. In terms of connection requests, I think it depends how you're connected as well. So if you're doing it through a search, sometimes it gives you more option than if you're just doing it through someone's post, for example. So it's a pain. It really is a pain. There's no consistency with LinkedIn in that sense.
Yeah, there always has been a bit of an issue on that front, but I suppose as well they're working to a very limited space, the size of your mobile screen versus a full screen. So I suppose there has to be that balance there. Okay, so Sue, you asked a question earlier on. Is it true that your profile is more visible if you currently have a job rather than not?
I've not heard that.
I think maybe you might be referring to job titles. So, for example, if you work in public relations, you'd allocate yourself against public relations. But maybe if you're unemployed, you might put in you're unemployed. And I know that there is search criteria within your actual job title. So if you put yourself as unemployed, people are not going to be searching unemployed. People are going to be searching public relations or solicitor or whatever it is. So I suppose kind of keeping your expertise within your title is
and change your status to suit what you're doing, what you're looking like actively looking for or however. But LinkedIn has a functionality for that as well. If you're job hunting, you can actually change that you are looking actively for work and things like that. So it's not going to hurt if you just keep wherever you were as your current and just amend that.
Okay, brilliant. So what other questions did we have? Poppy asked the question saying, I'm confused as to whether I've got a business page as well as a personal page. Do you want to answer that, Danny, or shall
I? Your company page will be one. To be fair, actually, LinkedIn sometimes sets them up itself. So the way to find out is to search your company name and see whether there's one there, and it might come up that it's what's the word I'm thinking of, Jag, where it says that it's unclaimed. Is that the word? Yeah, so you'll be able to see there. If you've not set one up, then effectively no, but like I say, LinkedIn has a habit of creating them.
Okay, we can talk about that more, Poppy. I know, Poppy, your brand is your name as well, so I would imagine that probably causes more confusion as well.
Yeah.
We can talk about that afterwards. I can give you a bit more information on that, just get a bit more from it. Emma Davis asked the question, does LinkedIn mind if you link to an external page? I've read that it doesn't like external content, e.g. a link to an external article.
Did I mention that after the question? Possibly. Yes, it doesn't favour it. It doesn't mind the occasional link, so maybe once a week, but it doesn't like you taking hit. But to be fair, like, it makes sense. LinkedIn wants you to stay on LinkedIn, so we always advise you put the link in the comments. Or actually, what I trialed yesterday was by saying to message me if you want the link, you know, because actually that gets engagement as well then if people are asking for it. So but yeah.
And Sue asked a similar question: is there a difference in engagement when you direct people to links outside LinkedIn? I suppose it's a similarish kind of question. If people,
Yeah, I mean, they'll still engage with it, but obviously they might, if the link they're clicking, they're leaving the post, then they might not engage. They might just click your link and go. So
disappear, to whatever it is you're showing.
yeah, like the dwell time algorithm is potentially not going to enjoy that if it's a case of they just click and go. So.
Yeah, so the dwell time algorithm, for those of you that don't know, it was something that was introduced only in the last few months during lockdown. And what it means is that when it's about dwell time, it does what it says on the tin. When somebody goes onto your post, LinkedIn will actually rate it and give it more views based on how long people stay looking at it, reading it and engaging it. So it comes down to the fact that you need to be writing stuff that they're actually going to, it's like a thumb stopper. It needs to stop them scrolling, have a read of it and engage with it. And the longer an individual profile stays on someone else's comment, LinkedIn sees that, understands that timing and says, oh, actually, it must be interesting if people are doing that. And that's why things like, imagery is usually a good thing, or video. That's one of the things that contributes to dwell time. So this is where the real challenge of putting, good quality, thought-provoking content on there that gets people reading. So it doesn't always have to be, you writing a full essay, but obviously if you're writing something engaging and long, that increases dwell time as well. So hopefully that's useful. Jane Adamson asked the question: the right tag plugin. Do you mean a plugin in your website which will then suggest hashtags according to your own website?
It's a separate plugin of its own that you can plug into your browser. So if you search right tag, you can add it as an actual plugin for your Google or your Chrome. Chrome. I think that's the other one's got Internet Explorer's gone on it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's Chrome. I don't know the others.
Yeah, well, Chrome is the most popular.
Yeah.
You plug it into your Chrome browser and you just use it as a part of that rather than your website.
Yeah.
But we can give a bit more information on the technicalities of that if you want to have a chat afterwards, Jane. And then Emily Brown has asked the question: is it okay to talk about different industries on my LinkedIn, for example, travel and university, or do I need a separate profile?
We had this last time, didn't we? It's somebody asked this last time because they were focused on both. It all comes down to your audience and who you want to reach. So I don't think if you're trying to reach travel and universities, then do a bit of both on your profile. It's not going to hurt. In terms of universities and different searches, there is actually an alumni search on LinkedIn, but if you want some more info on that, I can give you that at some point, Emily, because it's quite it'd be another 20 minutes and I'm conscious we're over already. So
I didn't realise.
So yeah, just drop me a message.
Okay, so I'll answer one more question. So Sue, sorry, you clarified a little bit on that. Maybe I didn't explain properly. I had heard that if you didn't have a current employer, it adversely affect your profile. I was advised to keep my most recent employer as present, which is what Danny answered. And then Josie asked the question: where do I find the analytics on my profile? So if you're looking on mobile, on the top, if you're looking on desktop, on the top left, it'll say profile views or post views. If you click on profile views, it'll show you a little graph for the last 90 days of how many people have been viewing. And even also on mobile, it will show you. I'm just going to have to quickly go on mobile so I can do it from, I can't remember exactly where it is on mobile. But in fact, it's on the top left. Should be your little picture. In fact, I won't show it to the screen. On the top left. And then if you click on view profile, and then you scroll down again, you'll actually see a thing called your dashboard.
Yeah.
And it'll tell you how many people have viewed your profile, and it'll show you a little graph.
You can do that the same way on desktop as well.
Desktop, yeah, on your desktop.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that's it from everyone.
Wow.
So brilliant. Thank you so much, guys, for coming along. We hope there's been value in this. Would be great if you could give a little shout out to us on LinkedIn. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, give Danny a recommendation on her profile.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
That would be great. And yeah, spread the word if you've enjoyed it. Yeah, we'd love to have you back for the next webinar.
Thank you very much.
Take care, guys.
Have a good day.